One vitamin is not going to work for everyone, and in fact a patient might need a B vitamin, but they might not test well for this particular B or that, so I did a lot of kinesiology testing. We don't use the ZYTO as a diagnostic tool, but what we use it as is, I call it kind of a roadmap.
So a part of my purpose, a part of my goal and plan as being Dr. Bob, the drugless doctor, is to educate people, to let them make wise choices. When somebody comes into our office, the ZYTO process is a part of the plan.
It's great for us, for me, and for the physicians that I can give them that roadmap and say, okay, this is what I have discovered.
I love it when Dr. Cook says that the ZYTO is an information technology. It puts the information in front of you and you have to intelligently digest that information and then choose if that can be used and then do the best thing that you think you can for the client in that moment.
It's an excellent tool. It gives great information.
Every patient that's in our office within the first 2 months has at least one ZYTO experience, and then we normally will reassess patients every month or every 2 months. And it's an integral part of their wellness program at our office.
For me, I love being able to see the results very quickly.
We have the greatest tools on the planet right now available to us, and the ZYTO has just made it easier for this to happen because we can scan huge volumes of information.
What I love about the ZYTO technology is it interfaces with established Western medicine assessments. And you know, I could never, would ever want to not have ZYTO technology because it interfaces. We're in our 4th year already, changed our practice life. And it's as important to me as my toothbrush is right now. And I say that sincerely.
And what's exciting is that people start to become in tune with really what I do in relationship to my lifestyle is a reflection of how I'm going to feel. I think more clinics should use this. It's really interesting when patients come and say, why don't other clinics have this? This is the first time I've ever, seen this. God, everybody should have this. And I say, yes, everybody should.
Because it's information specific to the question you asked about the individual. And then to bring all the individuality into some type of a report or some way to make a decision about an individual is unmatched by any device ever built that I've ever seen or used. And that information is what's going to help us bring people on their journey to wellness.
Out here, because you can handle everything that's inside this circle. But if something happens then and it creates a response that's more aggressive, then those are the things that we want to pay attention to, because theoretically those are the things the body needs help to bring back into range, it's called. So range is not significant as a diagnostic value. It's really significant as the threshold beyond which I pay attention. So the 35 neutral biomarkers establish the range value, and then we go through and we're scanning the rest of this, and you can see this is a pretty long scan. We've got, we did 171, now we're doing 638. So we're scanning at a rate of about 2 per second, just a little bit faster than that. So it's going to take us 300 seconds to get through this. This is about a 5-minute scan. And the video plays. The video doesn't last five minutes, but it's there because people will say, what's happening? And eventually you get tired of saying the same thing over and over again, so you just say, watch the video. And then eventually you get tired of hearing the video, so you turn it off like I just did. But when Jeff comes back in for his follow-up visit, he doesn't need to see the video, and so I might turn it off for that reason as well. This is a good opportunity, too, for us to talk about his intake form. So let's do it. I'm going to let you know what he wrote down here. Well, Jeff is 6 feet tall, and he's a little bit overweight. And he's got, what are his 3 main concerns? His first main concern is restful sleep, diet, and then daily energy level. And then as I read down through this, I see that he actually has a pretty clean lifestyle. About the only thing that he does that's questionable is he drinks some pop. He's taking a multivitamin, but he has an energy drop every day. Well, I don't know if it's every day, but commonly around 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Now, I know that that kind of an energy drop, because of what happens with your blood sugar and everything else, it's probably a food allergy issue. So he's probably eating something for lunch or breakfast that he actually is sensitive to, and so he's ending up with an energy drop at 2 in the afternoon. Now, let me say that let me put a disclaimer in there. I suspect that just because of the experience I've had with patients with this kind of a problem. I'm not going to jump to that conclusion because it may be something completely different. But what it tells me is I'm going to pay particular attention to diet, and if I make some lifestyle recommendations, I might quiz him more about specifically what are you eating and what do you have for lunch typically. And I might say try some different things and see what happens to your energy level. So we can try some of those clinical trials, and but at the same time, I'm not going to say, oh, well, I know you have food allergies because this is what you're doing. He sleeps, he's getting the right amount of sleep every night. He could exercise a little bit more, but Jeff's a young guy. He's pretty healthy. So what I'm interested in isn't in identifying a disease process. I'm not interested in treating some kind of a disease. What I'm interested with Jeff is, let's see if we can help him have more energy mid-afternoon and on, because I know if he does, he will be healthier. And if his foundational health is more solid and he gets exposed to COVID-19 or anything else, he's going to have a better opportunity to withstand it. And so I'm improving his quality of life. The other thing too is if I can help Jeff feel better, he's going to be less anxious about all of this crazy news we're hearing right now. A lot of people just are probably afraid to go outside because they think somebody's going to touch them and they're going to get sick. I'm not saying that you can't get sick doing that, but at the same time, I don't think that we should all lock ourselves in our houses for the next couple of months. I think, there's a reasonable approach here. Life goes on. So if I can help Jeff feel better, he'll feel stronger and he'll actually do better. And if he gets sick, he'll come through it okay. So we're scanning away where it says we've got 4 or 5 different sections here. You can see that at the bottom, and we're on section number 4. And of the 638 items in this list that we're scanning now, we're up to 600. So we're making good progress.
What would you say to people that are currently concerned about what's going on in the world around them? I mean, you've alluded to it a little bit, but what would you say to people as far as running scans, the frequency or the approach that you would have them take? Similar to this, would you run them through an intake form and run a scan on a daily basis or a weekly basis, monthly? What would your recommendation or thought be?
I wouldn't overscan.
Okay.
So for example, in your case, so let's say you came into my clinic, you would probably come in for more of a tune-up because you don't have any symptoms that are, making you stay home.
Sure.
Anymore. If you come in for a tune-up, then what am I going to do for you? Well, the first thing that determines that is, A, what am I licensed to do? B, what is my clinic set up to do or my business set up to do? If I don't have a license, I'm just a wellness counselor, and my primary tool is a particular group of products, then I'm going to say, okay, Jeff, let's run the scan. Let's see which of these products are going to support you best. And then I will rescan you after you've had a chance to consume all of those products. So most products come, my experience is most products come in a bottle that's usually a 30-day supply. And so I'll scan a patient the first time, I'll give them a 30-day supply, and I'll scan them, I'll reschedule them in 5 weeks, not in 4 weeks, but in 5 weeks. Now, my experience is that what happens is if I did that with Jeff, he'll start to improve, and depending on what I give him, it may take 2 weeks for him to actually start seeing a difference. And then about at 3 weeks, he starts to peak. He's feeling really good. And if I can get him back in about that 5-week period, then I'm ready to now move you to the next level.
Sure. Yeah.
If I wait too long, you're actually going to go, whoop, and you'll peak and start coming down. And now I'm making up ground again.
Interesting.
And it's easier to keep you engaged if I can get you close to the top of the curve.
Yep. Okay.
But at the same time, I don't want to have you come in less time than it takes you to consume the product. Because I know every time we do a scan, we'll have a different priority of products. At least that's usually the case. And if you came in, let's say a week later, if I had Jeff come in a week later, and it was different products, and I said, oh, Jeff, here, now you need these products. And a week later, oh, you need these. Pretty soon he's going to say, Dr. Cook, you're just trying to push a bunch of stuff on me. You're just trying to get into my wallet. You're really not trying to help me. And I don't want to create that perception, and so I'm careful about how I pace this scan.
Brilliant. Brilliant.
Now, there have been cases for you Select and Elite users. I have had patients who've come in who've been incredibly feeble. And my approach with them was not so much products, it was modality. I remember one woman who came in who had chronic fatigue, and she said to me, oh, I've been here, and I've been there, and I've been there, and I've been there, and she would get treated, but then she would immediately just fall back in. I mean, she was in such bad shape that you could very easily overtreat her, and that's what was happening. She was getting overtreated by different doctors. She came into me, and I knew that if I overtreated her, I'm going to actually make her worse. And so I ran a scan, and I ran a scan used on acupuncture points as my balancers. I then took the smallest needle I had, and I put one needle in the point that showed up at the top of the list. And I said, okay, so after that treatment, then I said, go home. And I had her come back the next day. And I repeated this process. One needle, boom. A couple of days later, 2 needles, boom. And in about, over the course of a week, I probably saw her 3 or 4 times in a 7-day period. And she lived fairly close. If she lived further away, this would be a little bit more complicated.
Impractical,
but she was fairly close to the clinic. And she was feeling a lot better. I mean, I could see she had more color in her face. She had more energy because I was not over-treating her. But in order to do what I was doing, I needed to scan her every day. And I wanted to scan her so that I made the right point selection before that needle went in. So if you're using a Select and Elite, you have the luxury of that kind of approach. But if the approach is just supplements or homeopathic remedies or products, then I always go on the
4-week window.
Yeah, I don't want you back in here until you've actually taken the stuff. Now, I'm kind of rambling here.
No, that's good. Yeah, I love this.
If Jeff comes back in 4 weeks, and he says to me, and I say, how you doing? And he says, I'm doing okay. And I say, oh, have you taken all the stuff I gave you? And he'll say, no, I'm not really good at that kind of stuff. Well, how much have you taken? Well, I took it for about 2 or 3 days after I got it. And you haven't taken it since then? Nope. Okay. Okay, listen, this is what I want you to do, Jeff. I want you to go home and take the stuff I gave you. And if he doesn't do it, I'm going to fire him as a patient. Okay? I'm going to say, look, Jeff, you're a great guy, and I think I can help you, but you have to do what I say, or it doesn't do any good. Because if you don't do what I recommend, then what's happening is I'm just taking your money, and you're going to be dissatisfied, and you're going to go out and say, oh, I went and saw Dr. Cook, and he didn't help me. So I don't want that to happen. I'm not just interested in your money, I'm interested in you. And compliance is part of the equation. So will you take it? Yes. Okay, I'm not going to charge you for today. Just get out of here, go home and take your supplements, and I'll see you again in 3 weeks or 4 weeks. So I've had to do that with patients from time to time. Then he comes back and he's taking it and he's feeling better. And I say, hey, you feeling better? And he says, yeah, good, away we go.
And off we go, yep.
Yeah. Okay, so let's look at this report.
Should I be nervous right now?
Yes. Yeah,
yes.
you should.
Yeah, I know, right?
Okay, so we are using the wellness report, which is a good one. I like that one. And let's see if we can make it a little smaller on the screen. Oh, thank you.
Yep.
I'm used to just taking my fingers and pinching them together
Yes.
and it gets smaller. Okay, good. There we go. So we've got 171 biomarkers that were scanned. His range is 3.07. That's a pretty typical range. My experience is adults generally, you'll find a range between 1 and 25. With kids, I've seen ranges that go as high as 400. The highest range I've ever seen was a fellow who came in, his range was like 4,000. I think that was a total anomaly. I can't imagine how that could happen, but anyway, it did once. But this is typical. 3 is a good range. The biomarkers that are in range, and now if you look at the report, you'll see the circle here, and that circle, the outer circle, represents the range value. That's 3.07 in this case. And inside that circle are 103 of the biomarkers. And outside that circle, in the red, are 68 biomarkers.
The first question we always get is that a good or bad, right?
Yeah, and I was just going to go there because everybody thinks that there's a good or a bad. It's not. It's not good or bad. Jeff's going to see 68 things out of range, and I'm going to give him some supplements, and he's going to go home, and he's going to take them, and he's going to come back, and I'm going to say, how you feeling? And he's going to say, I'm feeling better. I'm going to say, how's your energy in the afternoon? It's better. And we're going to run another scan, and he's going to have 120 things out of range. And he's going to scratch his head and say, I don't get it. I had 68 last time. I'm feeling better. I've done everything you said, and I've got 128 or 120 out of range this time. The answer is, that's true. It's just the computer and the range value are, it's kind of an arbitrary algorithm. And so the goal here isn't to never have anything out of range. The goal here is to bring the out of range things into range. It just doesn't matter how many you start with on the outside. So,
Good explanation, thank you.
Okay, so let's scroll on down. And what we ran through then were a number of items. So we ran through the 171 biomarkers, those were our stressors. And then we ran through a library of balancers. And in this case, we run through that library of balancers, and then what happens is the computer scores each one of those and then sorts them with the most positive response on top. That item happened to be, in Jeff's case, this Podophyllum peltatum.
I'll leave it to you.
Yeah, that's serious, man.
Yeah, I know, right?
Okay, so when that product or that item, I don't know if it's a product, it might just be an herb of some kind. I should know, shouldn't I? But I don't
Your
know.
guess is as good, is better than mine. So.
Well, let me give you a little hint here that I've used more than once. If I see something that I don't know what it is, and a patient says to me, "What's that?" I don't say, "I don't know." I say, "Oh, let's find out." And then I scroll down and I see in the next screen, hang on. There we go. There's the description. So I say, oh, this is Mayapple. Now, see, I didn't admit my ignorance to him, but I didn't pretend to know either. Mm-hmm. So I went down and I said, okay, let's find out together. So we find out, and then we go down, and there's the description of it and the indications and the things it has to do. It helps Jeff get oriented to this report because I'm going to print it off and I'm going to give it to him. So let's scroll back up here. I'm going to come over this way and scroll up. Okay, so we've got this podophyllum is showing as the most positive responding balancer. We put it into the circuit and we rescan the 68 out of range biomarkers. 31 of those biomarkers moved into range under the influence of the podophyllum, okay? The next thing that showed up was pyrola and pyrola, probably is how it's pronounced. And the question is, what's that? And the answer is, let's find out together. But when we added the pyrola with the podophyllum, who thought of these names? When we put those two together and then rescanned the remaining out-of-range biomarkers, it brought another 19 into range. Next thing was wood batoni, and when that was added to the other two, it brought another 10 into range. Then sarsaparilla root brought another 1, and so on down until we get all but one thing in range. Now, why did the computer stop with one thing out of range? The computer is programmed to stop with 10 items or when everything moves into range. In this case, everything did not come into range, and so it stopped at 10 items. So let's scroll on down and let's learn a little bit more about Jeff by reading some of these descriptions. So here's our podophyllum, and small intestines duodenum, gushy and offensive, blah, blah, blah. This number right here, the 118.89, that's called the deviation ratio. That's the number, that's the value of his response. So he had a positive response, and that's the relative score. Let's scroll down and look at the next item. I want to show you the DR on that one. Okay, you see the DR on this guy? 45. So that's less than half as positive as the previous item. So that just means Jeff really likes that top item, and he likes this, the pyrola, as well, but not as much. This is a Chinese herb, is my guess, from the description there. Now, as you look at these descriptions, okay, so if you're using a product line, you are not going to get the same descriptions as we're getting here. These are more of a generic description, and so these descriptions are going to be more medicinal, for want of a better word. And so when you look at it and it says, oh, the indication here is for kidney and liver meridian, and it, let's see, use it for snake bite and cancer, combine it with Romania, that's another herb. It doesn't mean that Jeff has cancer, okay? And depending on the description, you might have to caution your patient that, you know, these are just indications and it's good for these things, but it doesn't mean you've got that. Sarsaparilla root, benefits, so we can go through and look at those benefits. What I look for as I'm going through these items is I look for repetitive patterns. And you know, what is that top thing? What do I see as the indication? Is there anything common with the second thing? Anything common with the third thing? And so on down. And what I'm seeing here is just some general detox kinds of recurring pieces of information. So let's scroll on down and let's look at the next part of the report. So here are the 4 core body systems for wellness. And you can see it's detoxification, gastrointestinal, hormone, and immune. And of those things, the two that are shining here are, there we go, detox and immunity. So we have negative numbers on those, but the negative numbers in this case, you don't pay much attention to it. If it's out of range, it can go out of range, negative or positive. Let me explain why that's the case or how that's the case. remember, the range value is the value beyond which you pay attention. If I said to Jeff, are you afraid of spiders? And he immediately started to sweat and he rolled into the fetal position and started to cry. Just at me asking that question, I would go, wow, that's a really weird, and he probably is afraid of spiders because it's such a weird reaction. On the other hand, if I said to him, are you afraid of spiders? And he immediately puffs out his chest and
Hi, good evening everyone. Good evening sa lahat ng mga nanonood ngayon sa ating FB Live, especially sa ating F4 Network OPC na page. Sa lahat ng mga first timer na nanonood, isang magandang gabi. Binabati ko po kayo. Hopefully nasa mabuti po kayong kaligayan ngayong mga oras na ito. So, ating oras ngayon is nasa di ba? Gabing-gabi na. Di ba? Kumusta kayong lahat? Hopefully nakapag-dinner na po ang lahat, nakapag-hapunan na ba kayo? Siyempre, no, sa kabila ng pandemic na ating naranasang health crisis ngayon hindi lang sa atin, hindi sa buong mundo na ginaatubang sa atong mga katawhan, no? Then apektado ang atong mga kanegosyuhan, mga trabaho, ug uban pang mga kining ning problema nga at naabot sa tuwa kining pandemic, no? Bisan to ang atong City Government of Davao nagpahigayon og kining wala nagpabaya, wala nagpa tawag ani kining wala ta pasagdi. Kumbaga nagahimo kining mga dagkong lakang para lang masugpo ang kining ginatawag og COVID-19, no? Sa to City Government, no? Karong alas 7 sa gabi hangtod alas 5 sa kabuntagon ginapahigayon ang kining curfew para sa tanan, no? Except dito sa mga nadunay mga trabaho sama ani mga call center guban pang mga ining panahon sa gagabion. So may gabi, no, unang-una sa ngalan sa atong halangdong mayor diri sa among dakbayan sa Davao sa Inday Sara Curfew Duterte og sa iyang brother nga si Basti Duterte ang atong pinanggang Vice Mayor o kauban ng mga konsehales, mga kapitanes, uban mga government official, maayong gabi kanatong tanan. Kung diin na pa nagatan-aw mo aning atong FB Live karon kung asa man mo dapita karon. Sa kanatibuk ang Region 11, maayong gabi siyempre, no, ang kadaiyang mga syudad sama sa Digo City, Panabo City, Tagum City, siyempre sa dakbayan sa Davao ug ubang mga kasigbit nga mga probinsya diya sa may Davao Occidental, Davao Oriental, Davao de Oro, Davao del Norte ug diha pod sa Island Garden City of Samal sa tibuok Visayas, no? May gabi din siyempre sa Luzon. Magandang gabi sa inyo lahat. Og tibuok Pilipinas ubang nasod, no? Sa buntag siguro sa inyo diya. Good morning o good evening, good afternoon po kung saan man kayo ngayon. Sa atong mga heroes sa buong mundo, mga OFW, no? Mga overseas Filipino worker nga diin naning kamot in town bisan nini nga panahon sa pandemic nabalaka sila sa ilang mga mahal sa kinabuhi nga naa diri sa kung asa man sila karon. Ato lang pagsalig diha sa atong labaw mga gahom ampo lang ta permente, no? Di man ta pasagdan pag permente ta nagatawag sa atong pinaka ginatuuhan o ginaampuan kanang adlaw. So makig-uban kami kaninyo kini nga among ginatawag og health awareness karon, no? Kung kamoy interesado kaduna may gustong imong pangutana, palihog lang ko, paki-share lang ning amo ang FB Live diri sa F4 Network OPC. Pwede mo mag-like din pwede mo mag-comment kung asa man mo karon. Kung katong mga bagong nagtan-aw din yung bago nanonood, pwede kayong mag-comment at magtanong siyempre kung ano yung pwedeng maitulong ng aming company. Actually, nandito kami ngayon sa headquarters ng F-World, no? Dito po yan sa Davao City, guys. So, sa ngalan po ng aming napakabait at very supportive na president ng F-World Network. Okay? President ng ating F-World Network Office, the name of Fatima Biston. Talagang nandito, dandahan na namin itong ginagawa. Kasama ko dito ang aming mga sparring partners. Mga sparring partners namin, talagang mga kugihan kayo ni, mga guwapings, mga pitmalo ng Davao. No? Yan po ay si registered nurse po, kasama namin yan, mga team ZYTO. Si Sir Jan Terno, siyempre ang pinakapogi naming naka-yellow dyan, walang iba. No, ikaduha lang giko anam sa unsaon ginako tandi-tandi, ikaduha lang giko sa iyang kagwapuhan. Si Sir Leo. Sir Leo Hamili. Yan. So actually guys, ang among hisgutan karon may tungod ni sa mayong panglawas, no? Kumusta ang imong panglawas panahon sa pandemic, no? Atong ibus ang ato perminti ang ato ang health kay lisod na magkasakit, no? Panahon ining COVID lagi. Di ba? Mo nang atong Tagalog yung pagkatag. Actually, nakikita nyo kanina itong mga presentation kanina sa bago mi nag-live katong about sa ZYTO, even ng founder ng ZYTO USA nagsasalita kung gaano kaganda yung pag-scan ng teknolohiya na nandito sa aming headquarters, guys. So yun po yung good news para sa lahat. Actually, sobrang busy po tong 2 taong ito. Kasi ang dami silang ina-scan, no? Talagang ang daming schedule kasi yung pagdating sa mga effectivity labi na sa products at saka yung nare-recommend namin, ang daming testimony. So, siguta-siguta na mo niya ang mga testimony. So, sir, unahin natin si Sir Leo, yung pinakagwapo. Si Sir Leo Hamili. So, imong panahon, Sir Leo, may gabi da, Sir Leo, no?
May gabi sa tanan, may buntag sa uban, may hapon. Okay, may gabi sa tanan, may buntag sa uban, no? May hapon po sa uban. Okay, thank you. My name is Leo J. Jamila. So, isa ko sa kumbaga co-founder sa ZYTO PH. Kaming sa partner si Sir Jan. And thank you. Thank you, Vice. Si ako ang idol, si Tony Stark in the Philippines. Si Sir Julien. Okay. Namin dito karon para i-share sa inyo with regards kung unsay na diri sa ZYTO technology. So kami karon ang ZYTO PH is kami karon pioneer sa paggamit aning ZYTO technology diri sa ato sa nasod sa diri sa Pilipinas. Wala pa lain ng gamit, no? So kani siya daan, daghan jud kayo matabangan ani. Isa sa naghatag sa ako og kanang motivation o interest nganong gibuhat ni siya tungod sa akong personal experience nga nagpaggamit ani o pag-testing kumbaga out of curiosity dungag pod kay tungod sa mga nanglabay na mga tuig sa mga na-experience pod nga ka-testing kita nagkasakit aside sa sukad pa sa pagkabata nga nagka-stroke ako ang papa several times. So dako to siyang factor sa akong part na na-open akong mind with regard sa health nga angayan siya ato ang Tagalog pagtagad. So I hope makasabot mo sa Bisaya, no? Kung naay kung kailangan natin mag-Tagalog o mag-English, pagsulti lang, pag-message lang kay para ato ang i-translate, no? So yung nana lang siya. Tapos personally, backtrack sa fast forward sa akong personal experience. First ko naka-testing na na-scan sa kaning ZYTO scan is katong nilabay na February before the lockdown, before the sa tuang pandemic. So kato siya grabe ka busy since last year until atong pagka February first na ako na experience nga maskan. So sa grabing ka busy, kulang tulog kanya na. So daghan kay nakita dito. Syempre bisan pa tuod makasulti ko na natay gamay medyo conscious pag-abot sa gikaon, bantay ko ta sa atong ginakaon. Pero lisod banggod kung basta lang ingon ana atong buhaton kung wala gitay gitawag nga roadmap sa sakong buhaton. Okay? Una siya nga na-appreciate na ko ni siyang ZYTO technology. Kapag scan sa ko last February, grabe gyud dili sa joke, no. medyo sagad problemado ang pag-abot sa ako ang sa digestive, sa liver o sa heart. Ang isa nga pinakagikuyawan ako is pag-abot sa heart na part. Kay pagkita dito nga makita nga wala taas na imong cholesterol level na medyo problemado na imong heart, makita na dito daghan ng signs. So aside sa makita na ko dito sa laptop, sa computer kung unsa tong after sa scan, is akong personal na murag ginabati na experience ba nga naay murag usahay na ay murag siguro daghan sa ina katisting na og kanang mabukog no, magkaon isda mabukog. So kanang murag mabukog na feeling pero wala sa imong tilaok, na diri sa imong dughan. So kato siya daan medyo nakuha na ko ato na nakatilaw ko nga murag may magtusok, murag medyo na kuha na ko ato na warning. So pag-ana nga regarding sa scan, so why not non-invasive siya nga procedure. So gitry na ko siya. In the first place, mura lang siya o dako lang siya sa mouse sa computer. Ipatong lang ni mong kamot. So mag-scan na to siya. So galvanic skin response ang tawag ani siya nga communication, mo siya gitawag bio communication. So mo to siya. Few minutes lang makita dai ng result kung unsa atong mga weak organ. So kato mo to siyang isa nga naka warning. So unsa may dapat buhaton. Okay? The usual kung ingon ana tagaan tawag ka ng medication nga pang maintenance, okay, ingon pa ka for lifetime na maintenance. So napagani mas younger pa sa ako og mga kaedad na ako, mga kabatch nga pila na din sila katuig naga medication, naga ano na sila, naga maintenance na sila para sa cholesterol, para sa ana-ana. So kana nga part since nag-nursing food ko sa research yung ana. So nakikipan pud nako dito nga nagid siya mga nana siya pag magkwanta kanang mga synthetic drugs na daghan mga contraindication blah 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 na siya mga side effects nga dili na to mabasa sa kagagmay sa litra sa papel. Ngano man na tinuyuan na siya kay para di ka kasabot o di ka kabasa. Okay? So ay walay pagdaot, walay pag ano, pero that's the reality. So ingon na testingi ganin ang tambal no tanawan ng papel giipit di ako makabasa ka ba. Kinahanglan nimo og kanang magnifying lens para mabasa nimo. Kay pag once nabasa nimo na, makuyawan ka gyud, no? So, mo to siya. So sa akong part sa gihimo. So since kani siya nga technology muhatag siya og roadmap. Kung sa sakto nimong buhaton o kanang step by step. Okay? Dili siya ingon nga ay naman siya dirahan lang siya diretso. So ang iyahang principle kung baga, kung sa ako ang definition is mura siya o kanang naisa ka panday. Kailangan siguro tag panday no kung ano ta. So unsa man na siya kung sa Tagalog kapintero. Okay? So pag kana siya nagtrabaho, kailangan siya martilyo tapos tagaan mo siya gabas. Ang iyang trabaho dili mahuman. Okay? Dili mahuman. Ano man kailangan niya og martilyo, tagaan mo gabas. Unsa pagkahimo ato? So ingon ana the usual na to mahitabo kung pakataka lang tag inom kung unsa ato ang makuan gwapo ni daghan mag-ingon nga kailan nimo masilingan gwapo ni ana mo nan daghan kay mga free advice isa lang sa advice sa mga free advice ang lisod sa free advice kay libre siya okay unta kay libre ang problema dako to pwede nga mahitabo nga dili maayo okay so kung mag-seek ka og proper advice mag-seek ka og proper guidance better seek for those people nga kinahanglan mo bayran ilang expertise nga tagaan kag gamay advice kay kung libre most likely dili ginasakto ba basig ang ipangutana pud nimo sa imong health advice dili pud health practitioner basig diha na pud to silingan na katuod unsa lagi ingon si mo ay gwapo dukdukan ning kuan imna ning kuan mao ni ayo lagi na pagguha lang bunga sa kuan sabay sa ugat sa mao ni kuan pagkukali kay regarding ana naman po kuan ana no kay diha man ta nagsugod kung backtrack na to thousands of years ago diha man gyud nagsugod no wala pa man to food supplement pero lahi man to panahon sa una ug lahi to sa karon okay now sa akong personal experience since medyo problemado to follow na ko to ang mga suggestion o mga advice ni Sir John na naging partner na ko karon so na February to siya nga time. So grabe ka busy, grabing trabaho, no? Tapos nag-lockdown, nagkataon na lockdown ko sa Misamis Oriental. So pila ka months ko bago nakabalik diri sa Davao. So na-stop ako ang supplementation. So na padayon ako siya pagbalik na diri. So nag-scan balik, nag-supplement. After a month and a half katong problema na ako nga sa heart and sa digestion ug sa liver, kay magkuan mo guni siya, mga organs na maguna siya yung mga sige tawag nato kanang mag-teamwork mo guna sila. Lain siya trabaho pero dili magbuhat liba. Mura og basketball team, kung puros na sila forward, di pwede. Dapat na dribbler ana. So okay. So mo to siya hitabo. So after a month and a half nakita na ko unsang improvement. Okay? So the last na ko pag-scan last month, kay November naman ta karon, last October, that's around 20 yun sa to. So nakita na ko nga mas nag-okay mas nag-improve ang sa health. So sa katong last time grabe ka sagad regarding sa heart, grabe sa cholesterol, blah blah blah. So pagka katunang last month na, dili na towards the end of October, nindot na kayo ang itsura sa scan sa ako ang organ. So ma-feel pud na ako nga nag-okay siya kay makuan mo gud nimo regarding sa imong tulog, regarding sa imong digestion, dagan sa panguna-una nimo kay maapektuhan man gud pareha nang perminti na lang ka ma-bad trip o kakabalo, napo day relationship kung nanay diferensya imong inside. So ingon ana na siya. Okay, mo nang ungani ka nindot ang ato ang technology. Okay? Ako gid siyang i-suggest nga testingan jud ninyo. Kay ngano man mo nay isa sa kumbaga murag na kuanan ako kanang sitaw gani. Na-create na ko na mura siya saying nga awareness and prevention is always better than hospitalization. Nganong nahimo nganong na-create na ko na siya. Simple. Majority sa mga tao, Pilipino man o dili, less good na ang ilahang care with regards sa health. Okay? Diha pa na ma-warning pag once niabot na sa breaking point. So na breaking point. Para gud sa uban. Isa sa pinaka gusto nako i-share karon na gabi una ang katong experience among isa ka kaila no. Na-scan siya that was around October, let's say, around October. Now, na-scan siya, nakita niya ihang problema, so nag-undergo siya. Sige, mag-cleansing, mag-detox, ano na. Sa i-share na isa is, akong ingnon ako ang mama, akong ingnon ako ang sister, o akong bayaw, kay medyo problemado po ito ba? Medyo gataas to ang pressure. So, unsay mayong mahimo adto para maka-undergo sila, para di problema. So, since busy po siya, daghan og mga reason nga na delay. In around 3 weeks time, nahitabo, isa lang na ang katong gusto niya ipakuha nunta, mga ipascan. Instead na kung mag-undergo ka supplementation, pila lang imuhang gasto, no? Investment mo sa imong sarili nga atong ma-prevent ang dili na to gusto mahitabo. Walay bisag isa ka tao siguro na gusto ma-hospital, gusto magkasakit. Ang problema, walay action gibuhat towards para dili mahitabo tong dili gusto mahitabo. So, ang nangyari, na hospital, yatake, aneurysm, buto ang ugat sa utok. So may gani buhi pa. So ang problema karon, tako gasto na hospital, operahan. So instead na prevento kay kung in 3 weeks time kung nasugdan na nimo ang dapat nimo mahimo, kung nakita nga medyo dako na day problema ni basi pwede mahitabo nga gamay bikil, pwede nga mag-atake o mag-stroke. Nakuha na to. Natagaan nag-alibyo ba na kuan na siya ba, natagaan siya proper supplementation to prevent kay wala may gusto mo kapila lang man imuhang makuan kung nag-supplementation ka, kung gasto magalit istoryahan, pero nanaw mas dako gasto kung hospital para karon na damage unsaon na lang tong pamilya, wala man siguro kasagaran gud, wala naka-prepare pag-abutan na walay mga nakaset aside na mga kwarta para diha, walay mga insurances, mga nana. So basta ko sila gasto. So kung natistingan nila siya kaning technology, dakong takay matabang. Okay? Siguro sa ako ang i-share, murag daghan siguro kung gimama diri no. So dagdagan sa the next time. So thank you no. Ibalik sa siguro nako para si Vice siguro regarding additional. Yes, thank you tayo.
Okay. So motos ko ba na to no si Sir Leo, no? 'Di ba? Si Sir Leo talagang alam mo man, batang-bata talaga siya kasi talagang pagdating sa health health conscious po yan. Kaya yung kapugihan niya talaga. Oo, di ba? So, ang dami niyang na-share sa atin na magagandang mga na natutunan natin, no? Importante talaga yun. Imagine mo, prevention is better than cure, no? Kaysa mas may nang managang gintadaan kaysa naanata sa to ang sakit, no? Kaya minsan kasi kaning mga sakit usahay mga traidor kaayo. Kalit lang ba? Kalit lang niabot sa imo ha. Kay istorya lang gito nimo kaganina si Juan. Kalit lang giatake og high blood, no? So wala siya na aware, no, na aduna na siya problema di ay sa iyang kasing-kasing, may problema sa iyang organs, ubang organs din ha, no? So importante na, no, dakong tabang ning amo ang ining ZYTO scan nga machine, no, digital machine nga ipatong lang nimo imong kamot didto, mahibaw-an na, no, ma-detect na dito sa computer in just a matter of 5 to 7 minutes, no. After that, so malalaman mo kung ano yung para siyang ano, para madaling maintindihan, para siyang light detector test, parang gano'n lang siya kasimple. O, di ba? Then, guys, sa lahat ng mga viewers natin, sa 5 million viewers, thank you so much. So, patuloy, paki-share lang naman itong live, no? At saka, paki-like naman din, paki-comment kung saan kayo, kung meron kayong gustong itanong, pwede naman kayong tanong. Huwag kayong mahiya comment, no? Sa aming comment section sa F4 Network OPC page at sa ZYTO PH, siyempre sa Lifeline page, na sa ngayon din tayo naka-live, no? Sa lahat ng mga group page, magandang gabi. Salamat sa pag-accept at papanood sa inyong mga members diyan. Hopefully magugustuhan niyo po ang aming heart o mission dito, na ang aming pakay lang naman is makatulong kung sino lang naman interesado magpa-ZYTO scan ng buong katawan ng isang tao, no, through consultation. Then message lang po kayo kung kayo na may interesado, kasi kung ikaw magpa-check ng inyong mga organ ng iyong katawan kung sa isang hospital, kung di ako magkamali, nasa mga siguro 5 to 10,000 kada organs, no? O ilang organs meron ang katawan natin. So halos aabutin ka ng ilang libo-libo, di ba? While kung gawin mo dito, magpa-ZYTO scan ka lang, sa halaga lang naman ng murang halaga na malalaman na lahat kung ano yung pwede. Bakit kailangan na kailangan to? No, hindi naman na meron kasing iba diyan na umiinom ng supplement, no? Sobrang mahal, galing pa ng Amerika, galing Europa, even Canada. So yung mga supplement na iniinom nila, minsan sasabihin nila, hindi naman umiepekto. Kasi hindi umiepekto 'yon kasi pag yung organs ay may problema, talagang hindi ina-absorb, especially doon sa small intestine o problematic pala ka sa large intestine mo. Hindi maganda yung bowel movement mo. May problema ka sa colon mo, di ba? Di ba? Delikado 'yon kasi ang tandaan niyo pag kumakain kayo ng 3 beses sa isang araw, hindi pa kasama doon ng mga snacks niya, midnight snacks pa, ilang beses 'yon, di ba? Tapos nagulat ka isang linggo na. Isang linggo, umabot ng isang buwan, hindi ka nakapagbawas. Napakadelikado na 'yon. Di ba? Ano nangyayari sa loob? Pero guys, tandaan niyo po, ang ating intestine po umaabot po ng 32 feet. Ganun kahaba. So pag titingnan mo yung tiyan mo, sabihin mo bilbil, hindi bilbil 'yan. Ano na po 'yan? 'Di ba? Oscar na 'yan. So kailangan natin yang ipa-check through this high-tech technology na galing pa ng Amerika. Pag sinasabi mo Amerika na technology, dumaan po to sa mga certification tulad ng ISO, Canadian Excellent at saka yung United States Food and Drug Administration sa Amerika talaga na nire-recommend ng buong mundo na itong ZYTO scan. Kahit mag-research po kayo sa Google, makikita niyo po yun, yung ano yung ZYTO. Pag, siyempre, kung gusto mo magpa-ZYTO scan sa Amerika, siyempre mamasahe ka. Magpa-schedule ka pa doon at mag-ready ka ng nasa mga, kung sa piso, nasa mga 6,000 pesos para magpa-ZYTO scan ka sa buong katawan mo. Ang good thing guys, sa lahat na nandito, especially dito sa Region 11, dito sa Davao, na dito lang po yan matatagpuan sa 365 Rizal Street na second floor. Alam mo yung BDO, sa second floor niyan may makikita po yung F4 Network OPC. So yan, may logo ako sa likod. Yan po yung logo, na magandang logo. Meaning po niyan forever. May forever dito. So gusto mo forever young, so kailangan kang magpa-ZYTO. Kasama natin, no? Huwag na natin na patagalin. Kasama din natin dito ang ating registered nurse na si Sir John Torno. So, i-explain niya kung bakit kailangan natin alagaan ang lahat ng mga organs natin, especially yung heart. especially yung ugat natin papunta sa heart. Yun, ano? Importante yun, o yung brain natin. So, ano ba talagang pinaka-importante sa lahat, no? Na malalaman natin. So, walang iba, pakinggan natin si Sir Jan na Tarno. Sir Jan, magandang gabi sa iyo. Hopefully, nandirito ka. So, ang gwapo-gwapo naman to ni si Sir Jan. No? Tingnan mo na.
Alright, so magandang gabi sa lahat. Sa mga nanonood, so sobrang dami na dati. Yung mga nakasubaybay, so i-share namin ngayon kung gaano importante yung about sa health. So tama sabi ni Vice kanina na tayo talaga ako para makabirit. So yun, kailangan talaga dapat linisan yung loob. So by the way, my name is John Torno, so taga Davao. Meron lang ako mga kapamilya ng mga doctors, nutritionists. So kilala yung si Dr. Torno, yung one of our relatives rin dito sa Davao, eye specialist na medyo sikat-sikat rin dito. So, nangyari, bakit ako naging interesado sa Bosa Health? Kasi even ako tinamaan. Pamilya kami ng may diabetes. So, yun lang kasamaan, may diabetes na may high blood pa. So, tinamaan ako ng diabetic ketoacidosis. So, yung mahirap na sakit kasi napabayaan ko, yung sugar ko pala, sobrang kong kain ng mga tamis ng carbohydrates. Kasi kami ang hilig kasi yan, trip talaga namin is kain ng kain. So dumating yung time na tinamaan yung pancreas. So yun, ang nangyari is tumaas yung sugar, pinabayaan. Kasi bakit? Dumating yung time na parang hindi importante sa akin yung health. Kasi po na sa akin yung trabaho, work. Hanggang sa dumating yung time na bumigay. Nasira, na-diagnose ako sa Brookshire Hospital. So that was, sabi natin, 4 months ago. Even ako na-diagnose din. So, ang doktor ko si Dr. Francis Ho, siya yung endocrinologist. So, nagsa kanya lahat ng mga records ko. So, anong effect yung diabetic ketoacidosis? Simple lang. Mataas sa sugar mo, sirain na lahat ng organs mo, pati fats mo sa katawan, kainin ang katawan mo mismo. So, ano nangyari? Pwede mo. Simple lang talaga. Pwede mo tumatay agad. So, yun naagapan, kasi awa ng Diyos, siguro may mission talaga na gawin kami tulad ng ito. Dito kami ngayon sa may F-word OPC or company ni President Fatima Biston. So, ngayon, isa sa pinakamagandang ginagawa namin is nag-share kami kung paano matulungan yung mga tao, paano ma-improve yung health. Kasi mostly ngayon sa mga tao, hindi alam kung ano mga causes ng sakit. Ang iba, sabi na, ay sa stress yan, sa pagkain yan. But ano nangyari, yun, hindi pa rin natin didisiplina yung katawan natin until magating yung bumigay na, maglala na, hindi na ma-reverse. Sa kanina, share ni Sir Leo, yung papa niya, share niya yung client niya. So, meron na niya akong client na isa rin sa, ang malupit pa doon, dentist ng Kabakan. So, ang nangyari is, nagpa-scan. Pag-scan niya, nakita yung problema or yung concern sa kidney na nagkaroon ng concern na naghina ang kidney niya. So, siyempre, parang marami rin siyang alam. Sabi niya, bakit gano'n? Ganyan. Ang dami niyang questions sa amin na hindi naman ako, paano ako nagkasakit ng kidney? Hindi naman ako mahilig sa mga ito, ganyan. So, yun, until sabi ko suggestion ko sa kanya, linisin natin, i-cleanse natin, detoxify natin, para malinis, maglakas yung kidney mo. Ang nangyari, hindi ayaw niya. That was last February. So, before lockdown. Then, dumating yung lockdown, pabayaan. And after 2 months, na-admit sa hospital, kidney problem. Nagkaroon pa ng problem sa blood pressure, tumaas yung BP. So, yun, doktor na nga, na-admit pa. Kasi nga, minsan, magaling kasi minsan yung mga ganon, mga specialist. So, ngayon, tinamaan yung organs, na-admit pa. So, di ba? Mahirap. So, hindi kakaiba yung ZYTO, yung scanner. Kasi ganito, bakit? Bakit ako confident? Di ba na-admit ako na diabetic acidosis? Ang dami maintenance. Lahat ng yan ngayon, sa awa ng Diyos, wala na. Inalis. Kasi bakit? Dahil nakikita ko kung yung organ sa loob ng katawan ko, yung sabihin natin, for example, heart, kidney, atay, baga, ano pa, tinae, ano pa, yung ano natin, yung ating mga private organs, nakikita yung mga function. So, dumating yung time na nagamit ko lahat ng scan sa akin, very accurate. Sabihin natin, sabi ko sa inyo, very accurate. Kung ano ang mga weak organs sa loob, yun yung nangyayari, yun nararamdaman mo ngayon. So, dumating pa yung time na ang gallbladder ko, nagkaroon pa ng stone, ilang araw lang after detoxification, lumabas lahat. So, nawala yung sakit. So, alam ko yung iba parang, totoo ba to? Maniwala pa ako dito. Alam ko may doubts, but I have records, everything. Kung gusto nyo malaman, kung tayo dito sa ZYTO, ay sa may office namin, sa may Rizal Street, yung sa may F4 company, pwede nyo makita yung mga records para mas maniwala kayo. And then, makita nyo rin yung kung gaano ka-importante yung ZYTO scan. So yun, i-check lang siya 7 minutes, ang bilis. Mabilis na siya masyado. After 7 minutes, makita niyo na yung result. Ano yung mga result? Kung gaano kalakas yung heart mo, gaano kalakas yung baga mo, gaano kalakas yung liver mo, yung atay, gaano kalakas yung mga kidneys mo. Ang mahirap kasi, hindi kasi natin pwede na hula-ulaan lang na, ay, okay na siya kasi, ano man, physically, sa external, sa outside, kala natin, okay na yun siya kasi healthy naman. Pero hindi natin alam kung ano nangyayari inside. Tulad na rin ng ganito, di ba, Sir Lane, di ba naliligo ka araw-araw? Anong purpose ng naliligo? Anong purpose natin dyan? Di ba, dapat?
Para malinis yung katawan natin.
Yeah, exactly, yung skin.
Para fresh na fresh.
Try mo, ayaw maligo ng 5 araw. Baka hindi mo na maintindihan pati yung katawan mo, yung sarili mo, hindi mo na maintindihan. Try mo. Bakit? Yung dumi. Tama? Ngayon, tanong ko sa bawat isa. Diba? Sir Lee, kanina, tinanong ko yung si Ma'am, kanina, yung disca natin na dentist. Tinanong ko siya, Ma'am, kailan mo nilinis yung loob ng katawan mo? Kailan mo detoxify? Anong sagot?
Wala pa.
Wala pa. So, kaya, iba yung pakiramdam. Sabi nila, nararamdaman sila yung heart ko, bumibilis ang tibok. Minsan, may tumutusok-tusok. Minsan, yung blood pressure ko maabot ng 150. And last time, mga 2 days ago, nag-BP ako, nag-scan din kami doon sa may Agdao, dito na sa Davao. So, ang BP umabot ng 200. 220 over 160. So, sabi ko, Ma'am, kung sa hospital ka, admit ka na talaga. So, yun, nakita niya, naagapan namin. Ngayon, ang ganda na kasi bakit bumaba yung blood pressure ngayon, nasa 160 na lang, at least, na-save siya. So, yun yung kagandahan sa ZYTO scanner. Kaya kung ikaw may high blood, hypertension, iba taas ang uric acid, ano pa, merong diabetes mellitus, may concern sa may constipation or constipated person, ikaw ang constipated person, punta ka dito, Ma'am. Pwede ka namin matulungan. Ma-improve yan siya, maalis natin, mabawasan natin yung mga masamang nararamdaman ng mga organs na yan, Ma'am. Kung ikaw may asthma, pneumonia, mga ganun, Ma'am, tulungan tayo. Tulungan ka rin namin, Ma'am, kung paano yun siya i-detoxify, i-cleanse. Okay? Paano patasin yung immune system? Alam ko ngayon, pandemic. Ang iba takot maglabas kasi bakit? Mababa yung immune system. Hindi mo rin malaman kung mapapataas ang immune system mo or mababa yung immune system mo. Ang alam mo lang is, yun na. Okay rin yun. Nag-vitamins ako. Yun. Akala kasi ng iba kung nag-vitamins na, ibig sabihin, mataas ang immune system. Dito, sa ZYTO scanner, ipakita rin sa ZYTO scanner kung mataas yung immune system mo or mababa yung immune system mo. So, okay? Naintindihan ko ba? Sir Lay, okay lang po ba yung Sir Lay?
Yes, okay.
So,
okay.
Di ba, Sir Lay, ganito nangyari? I just want to emphasize this one. Bakit nagkakaroon ng, for example, nagkakaroon ng problema sa organs, nagkakaroon ng problema sa emotion? Kasi bakit lahat yan, organs tsaka emotion natin konektado yan. last time, I discussed about discipline. Discipline in eating and discipline in thinking. So ulitin ko lang ito kasi ang pinaka-important sa lahat, kailangan maintindihan natin kung gaano ka-importante yung disiplina. Di ba, Sir Lay?
Yes.
So regarding sa disiplina, Sir Lay, yung start na scan kita, Sir Lay, di ba? Anong ginawa mo doon? Okay na ba? Talungan lang tayo, Sir Lay.
Oo.
Anong ginawa mo doon, Sir Lay? Share lang ka naman kahit konti sa na-discover mo sa iyong ano. Yun, si Vice. Itong idol ko, ito yung ginagaya ko. Na ginagaya rin Sir Leo. Alright, so, Sir Lay, tanungin ko lang, Sir Lay, kung ano yung ginawa mo after the scan, bakit nag-improve yung mga organs mo at ginaramdaman mo sa heart mo ngayon na alis talaga, totally.
Oo, medyo na-threaten ako dun, no, sa naging result nga. Although, personally, parang gusto, ayaw na magpa-scan. Kasi nga, at the back of my mind, nako, mahirap na, malaman ko problema sa sarili ko. Pero, syempre, kailangan natin ng mas wise decision. Para sa akin, mas wise decision na mas malaman ko kung ano na nangyayari. Kasi, gusto ko mahaba buhay ko. Okay? Makita ko pa yung mga apo-apo ko, mga ganon.
Yes.
So syempre, ano bang gawin natin? Paano ba humaba, di ba? Highly civilized na tayo, okay? Nasa highly civilized na tayo na panahon. So, ano bang ibig sabihin ko doon? Maganda naman yung especially nasa city tayo, civilized. Kaya nga lang, yung environment natin, hindi naman natin masabi na kasing ganda 10, 20 years ago. Okay? So, anong ibig sabihin ko doon? So, meaning, mas exposed tayo ngayon sa mga free radicals, mas exposed tayo na sa mga pollution, ganito, ganyan. Especially, sa ngayon, parang hindi na mabuhay yung mga tao pag walang internet connection, walang data. Okay? So, anong meron doon? Electromagnetic kaya yun. Especially, pag naipatupad sa atin dito sa Pilipinas yung 5G, si 5G, grabe, ang galing ni 5G. Para tayong nilagay sa oven doon. Parang naka-microwave tayong lahat. Okay? So, although hindi naman yung topic natin, pero sinabi ko lang, para at least naman yung iba, kung hindi nila alam, excited sila magka 5G kasi malakas yung signal. Oo, malakas din epekto sa health mo. Mahirap din. So, yun. Nag-follow lang ako doon sa roadmap. Okay? Anong dapat gawin? Sinunod ko yun. Isa doon pinakamadaling gawin is consumption ng tubig. Damihan mo. Damihan mo yung pag-inom mo ng tubig. Kasi minsan, kadalasan, hindi lang minsan, yung mga tao, parang hindi lang nabibigyan ng ng halaga yung pag-inom ng tubig. Tapos, since dumating yung mga bottled water, tsaka yung mga dispenser, mga ganito ganyan, na meron tayong tawag dito, madali na yung hot and cold, ganito ganyan. Okay naman yan kasi siyempre nagiging modern na tayo, nagde-develop, mas maganda yan. Tapos masabi mas malinis na filter yung tubig. Oo nga, pero tanungin mo or alam nyo ba ng tubig sa dispenser, especially pag naka-purify, naka-distill ka, tawag doon is dead water. Nung ibig sabihin doon, wala na mga minerals yun. Di ba kailangan nating minerals?
Yes.
Paano ininom mo? Highly acidic na tubig. Yung nasa acidic kaya yun, hindi nyo alam. Ngayon, alam nyo na. So, maganda pa rin yung maganda pa rin yung tap water. Okay? Maganda pa rin yun. So, yun lang. Yun yung pinakasimple na ginawa ko. Follow ko yung water consumption, damihan, tapos yung supplementation. Kaya, maganda naging resulta. Okay? Maganda naging resulta. So, ano pa, Sir Jan?
That's good.
Tayo na rin ako.
Sabi ni Sir Leo, ito maganda kasi ginawa namin to kasi kami mismo naka-experience talaga sa ZYTO and the ibang tao. And by next week, maybe, by next week namin na discussion, yung mga testimonies na ng mga tao na natulungan ng ZYTO scanner, natulungan about sa health, ayun, gumanda. Kasi meron pa nagsabi, sir, grabe no, kung umabot pa ako ng hospital, katulad ng bill ko, for example, sa akin na lang, yung diabetic ketoacidosis, ang bill ko, 90,000 pesos, ilang araw lang yun, 5 araw lang. Makita niyo yung bill ko, pag punta kayo dito, makita talaga. Shocking, is masyado. Ganun pala, yung may kasabihan, kapag mayaman ka, ihanda mo na bulsa mo. Kaya alam mo na kung magkano yung mga bills sa mga private hospitals. Pero kung wala kang pera, ihanda mo na yung kalooban mo. Hindi mo alam kung ano mangyari sa public hospitals. Baka mahawaan ka pa ng virus. Ganun. Ganun kahirap, di ba? So, ayaw natin mangyari yon. So, dito, it's very safe kasi yung office namin, grabe ang grabe ang nangyayari dito before ka makapasok. So, talaga, gina-check talaga lahat. Then, may mga social distancing tayo na nangyayari. Ito lang sa ngayon kasi, live namin. So, kita nyo, medyo malapit pero wala mga virus, ha? So, yun. Thank you, Sir Leo, for sharing about sa concerns sa heart. And then, may bago din kami na scan. That was last, I think that was last October. So, ang last October, napascan siya, gusto niya matry ang ZYTO scanner. And then, there one time, pag-scan namin sa kanya, pag-check namin sa kanya, na malakas ang damage or malaki ang damage sa kanyang liver. Then, shocking masyado kasi bakit? Sabi niya, nagpapa-inject naman ako ng ng blood. Ayun, kasi syempre, ito para si Tony Stark na Iron Man. So, yun, ang nangyari, pag-check niya sa ZYTO, ang laking damage, bakit ganun? Kala ko maging okay. Then, nag-manifest, naglabas sa skin niya lahat. Kasi, pag once na kasagit yan, alam niyo ba na mga nanonood sa mga viewers, kapag mayroong damage ang atay mo, ang liver mo, maglabas yan sa balat mo kasi ang organs na responsible for your skin is ang atay. So ngayon, shock siya, sabi niya, grabe pala nangyari, ganito ganyan, lumabas lahat. And mas maganda, siya mag-share, paano niya na-amaze. Walang iba kundi ang ating Vice President ng company, kundi si Sir Jay.
So, salamat kay kasama pa si Sir Lee at si Sir Jen. Magandang gabi pala, Greet ko muna sila si Dr. Rizalito Golingay, ang may-ari ng Golingay Hospital dyan sa may Malala.
Wow! Hello, Doc.
Kaibigan ko yan. Magandang gabi.
Hello, Doc. Magandang gabi.
Magandang gabi dito sa honor. Si Paring Cesar.
Hi, sir.
Sa may Mako, Davao de Oro.
Wow!
So, magandang gabi sa lahat ng nanonood natin. Especially dito sa F4 Network Office na page. Salamat kaayos. Walay pag-uwi, walay paglubad. Sa tanan ng mga viewers natin din sa lahat ng mga first timer, thank you tayo. Naka-party watch tayo sa ibang
grabe.
Yan, may marami nanonood sa ibang live. So, yung pinag-usapan, mga bagong nanonood po, yun po yung pinag-usapan po namin isang machine na nilirito po sa aming company sa F4 Network Office, yung tinatawag na ZYTO scan na digital technology. Yung ipatong lang yung mga imong kamot, tapos malalaman na lahat sa mga 5 to 7 minutes. Lahat ng ganito na lang, pag matuloy maintindihan, parang siyang live detector test. Pakikita namin yung machine para malalaman dito na nanonood natin. Ito po, pwede po kayo yan po, pinapakita. Ito pong machine na to. Yan po yung aprobado po yan. This is US made. From US talaga yan. Pwede mo tingnan sa internet, yung ZYTO. Okay? Malalaman mo yan. Lahat dito babasahin, lahat ng organs mo. Para sa live detector. So, ikaw, nagulat ka, uminom ka ng supplement, hanggang ngayon hindi mo epekto sa'yo. Uminom ka ng vitamin C, tapos nagulat ka, nagkasakit ka, kasi hindi pala na-absorb ng katawan mo yun. So, kailangan muna magpa-ZYTO scan, mag-visit na po kayo dito sa aming page kung kailan gusto niyo po, or magpa-schedule kayo sa lugar niyo. Mga 5 to 10 people lang pwede natin i-scan. Tapos contact lang kayo, meron ng mga number dyan, mag-visit na po kayo, hindi tumawag bigla, mag-visit na po kayo, naging kayo pisalo sa aming ZYTO scanning. Ganito lang yan. Pag tinignan niyo po sa internet, ang ZYTO scan sa US is umaabot ng $120, more or less, nasa 6,000 pesos po yan.
Yes.
Okay? But ang good thing po, napangamura lang po yung aming consultation at sa pag-scan ng buong katawan. So, murang-mura lang po yan. Importante po yan na malaman mo ngayon kung ano na nangyari sa organs mo. Kumusta na kidney mo? Problemado ba ang gallbladder mo? Yung abdomen mo ba? Kailangan na ba tanggalin? Hindi pwede tanggalin yan. Delikado ba yun, di ba? Yeah. So, kailangan alamin mo, malalaman ng scanner na to kung anong problema, especially yung ating colon. Di ba? Yung ating... Kasi sabi kanina, kailangan daw, naliligo ka araw-araw, 4 na beses, 4 na araw, hindi ka naligo. Parang hindi na maganda pakiramdam mo. But ito, parang isasabihin ng ZYTO na to, ZYTO scanner na to, kung ano talagang problema ng katawan mo. Yun. So, good news po yan para sa inyo lahat. Sa lahat ng viewers ngayon nanonood, Okay, thank you so much. Sobrang dami nyo nandito pala. So, thank you so much. So, bago ito matapos, guys, so, tapos na po tayo?
Yes.
So, ayan, kasama si Sir Jan. Nandito po si Sir Jan Turno, ang ating nurse. At saka siyempre ating nurse din kasama si Sir Leo Amili. Napakagwapo po nila. No? Kung alam, kahit sa saon.
Ginagaya ka namin, guys.
So, welcome po kayo dito sa aming page. Guys, meron kami papanood sa inyo bago tapusin namin po siya. Maraming salamat po sa lahat ng nanonood. Tingnan niyo po yung video na ito. Okay? Para malaman niyo po tong ano talaga tong ZYTO scan. In just ilang minuto lang naman. No? ZYTO scan. So, ayan. So, sa mga viewers nandito, salamat po. Ang dami nyo. No? Magandang gabi kaninyo. Sino to? Si Ma'am Lucille Miller, Antonio Velador, Ma'am Ira Hall, siyempre si Doc na may-ari ng Bolingay Hospital. Pero pwede tayo bumisita ni Doc. So, no, dyan sa may Malalag. Mr. Doc, sobrang busy to. Dami nang tinutulungan ng doktor dyan. Part ng Davao Resort, no? Good evening sa inyo dyan. Okay? So guys, panood mo namin itong video. Ano tong ZYTO scan? At tapos na po tayo. Magandang gabi. Bye-bye. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Yes. More power po. God bless po.
The ZYTO hand cradle is a medical device cleared by the U.S. Food and Drug Administration to measure the user's galvanic skin response, or GSR. It is not cleared for the diagnosis or treatment of any disease or medical condition. GSR is an established technology that measures fluctuations in electrical conductivity of the skin. One familiar application of GSR is lie detector testing. During a ZYTO scan, the user's baseline GSR is measured by the hand cradle and then compared by ZYTO software to digital signatures in the ZYTO database. The digital signatures in the ZYTO library each represent a physical item. After the software introduces each digital signature, a new corresponding GSR reading is taken. The GSR reading may have changed, having been affected by an energetic link between the digital signature and the user. Each baseline GSR measurement and the GSR measurement taken after the software runs each digital signature become inputs into a unique formula found only in the ZYTO software. The numeric value produced by the ZYTO software indicates how divergent the digital signature response was from the baseline. We call digital signatures that produce more coherent or balanced responses biological preferences. An easy-to-read report is generated that displays a ranking of the physical items whose corresponding digital signatures resulted in greater biological preference. The report is available to assist individuals as they choose options to maintain health and wellness. We call this whole process biocommunication.